afternoon and welcome to Working Wednesdays. My name is Mary Jo Williams and I'm the Network Training Coordinator for the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center. And today we have the presentation that's the first of 8 parts of the series, Disaster Recovery and Resiliency during COVID-19. And today's session is This is Not Business as Usual. Now, our presenter today is Mr. Mark Wilson of the Wilson Company, and I'll let him give you more details about himself. But in the interim, know that we're active in the territory, St. Thomas, St. John, Water Island, and we are working remotely. So you will need to call us or email us to get in contact with us. Now, today's questions, you can put them in the chat and we will answer them as we go along. And without any further delay, let me turn the floor over to Mr. Mark Wilson and he can wax eloquent about his accomplishments. Mark, go ahead. You're muted. Mark, you're on mute. Mark, your mic, there you go. You're muted again.
Okay.
You muted yourself again.
No, I did not.
Okay.
Here, is everybody there? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
You can?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, well, I'm Mark Wilson. There I am, dressed up and in a tie. I was in the clothing business for a while, so you can make me look good if you want. I am the owner of the Wilson Company, and I'm a retail, restaurant, and hospitality specialist. And I focus on small, independently owned businesses throughout the United States and in the islands, because I've been to your islands many times after the hurricanes to help businesses get reopened and put their best foot forward. So today we're talking about the pandemic and what's that's done to business in 2020 and what it means for 2021. And we're here to help. The SBDC is a wonderful organization that's here solely to make sure that businesses not only survive, but thrive and give most of their help at no cost. And it's not judgmental and it's strictly confidential. So anything that you share with an SBDC advisor or me will remain within those 4 walls and not be shared with anyone. So if we meet with you and have a one-on-one with you, be forthright with us. Don't hide anything, be honest, and give us the raw data so that we can help you. So with that said, and you knowing a little bit about me, just a little tidbit. I've been in the business, in retail, restaurants and hospitality for 45 years. The past 10 years, I've been having the Wilson Company and traveling the country helping small businesses. So I've met with over 1,000 small businesses and given over 500 presentations in the last 11 years. So I've touched about what you can touch when it comes to retail and restaurants, and I've made lots of mistakes. But I'm here to tell you, if you're not making mistakes, you're not taking enough risks, because the pandemic has caused us to pivot our businesses and become in sync with the consumer, because the consumer has changed during the pandemic based on all the protocols and all the things that have happened in the last several months. Gosh, it's almost a year. The first case was discovered a year ago. So we really think about March, but it's really kind of got its stronghold in February. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about what's been going on. What are the current events and how does it affect business and your business ability to do business? So from the get-go, there has been optimism based on the development of the vaccines and the deployment of the vaccines. So optimism is running high because there's hope. There's hope that there's light at the end of the tunnel because, we beat other viruses. We beat polio. We beat smallpox. So vaccines work, and we believe that this one will work. And there's 2 or 3 more in the offing. So we're going to get to the point where we're going to get more people vaccinated. Right now, it sits somewhere between 8 and 10% of the population has been vaccinated. And I think we have a long way to go before we have herd immunity or enough people vaccinated where we can start feeling like we've got this thing contained and powering it down. So you have the vaccine deliveries behind schedule. I think Biden and his team are going to get the thing moving. I read in the news last night that they're going to begin to distribute it to certain pharmacies. I believe, pharmacies like CVS and Walgreens are going to get it and begin to give shots as well. So the goal is to get everybody that wants to be vaccinated. And that's a whole nother point in itself its own of the folks that don't want to be vaccinated. But let's not talk about that now. The caseload surge is rising. So vaccine illnesses and deaths is going up, not down. And the other bothersome thing is that there are variants that are mutating from the original virus. And we don't know how powerful our current vaccines will be against these new strains. So just suffice it to say that you'll be wearing masks and we'll be fighting this pandemic through probably most of 2021 and possibly beyond. So be prepared to do business under the current constraints. Federal aid is coming. We had the first tranche in May of the PPP and EIDL loans from the federal government. We have another batch of those hopefully being approved here over the next several weeks. But Biden has a very aggressive $1.9 trillion aid package that the Republicans want to be $600 million. So hopefully we'll meet somewhere in between and get something moving here. But there is another program of loans available to small business. Hopefully they'll be able to be available soon. It's been confusing. It's been a hardship. There are folks that don't know whether how to make sure that the initial loan gets forgiven as a grant. So the SBDC is here to give you help with that and figure that out. And the other unique thing that's going on right now is because so much business is being done online, and it's not to the degree that it is in bigger companies, but companies, big box stores are doing 50 to 70% of their business online now. I'd say 10% is probably a high number for an independently owned business. In some cases, it's not that high. I'd share this with you. In 2019, 72% of small business didn't have e-commerce, and 30% didn't even have a website. That was 2 years ago. So we have a lot of catching up to do. And just know this, that it's not the new normal, it's the next normal, because this pandemic has been social changing. So don't expect your world ever to be exactly like it was a year ago. It's not going to be that way. It's going to be different. It's going to be improved, but it's going to be different than it ever was before. And you're just simply going to find that more business is being done online because it's safer. It's the safest way to do business. While this is on my mind, let me discuss 2 things. There are a couple things going on. One's called the 4 C's. C is in cargo. And there's the 4 A's, as in Abbott. So let's do the 4 C's first. Here's the 4 C's. The 4 C's of customer interaction right now. First and foremost, it's convenience. Second, it's caution. Third is cause. And fourth is community. Those are the concerns that are top of mind for the consumer today. How convenient will it be for me to get my product from this store? Have they made it safe to shop with them? So have they exhibited the appropriate caution and made their environment antiseptic and safe to shop in? Third, do they stand for something more than just their store and their product? Are they cause driven? Are they giving back to charitable causes and participating in that channel? And lastly, are they a part of the community? Are they sharing their success or sharing with the rest of the community? And I'm a very strong believer that the more the community does well, the more each individual store will do well. So I have a term called co-opetition. It means how well are the stores cooperating with each other to do more business? Are they doing promotions together? Do they do things? Do they do co-op ads? Do they try to promote together? Do they know what each other sells and what to get where? So it's important that the community works together. So the 4 C's. Now, what are the 4 A's for the customer? It's simple. Anywhere, anyhow, anytime, and any place. Those are the 4 A's. What does that mean? It means your business has to be able to deliver the product in any manner in which the customer wants to receive it. So what does that mean? That means this. You have to have curbside pickup. You have to have delivery. You have to be able to ship your product. And you have to be able to let them come into your store and buy it. So those are the 4 primary ways to get a product to a customer. And guess what the customers feel are the safest? The store actually delivering a product directly to them. They feel that's the safest way to get a product today. So that's a lot said in the first slide, but let's carry on. So what are we hearing out there? We're hearing that finances are tight, that margins have been compressed, and that the loan grant process has been very challenging. So tight margins, meaning there's been expenses that stores have had to spend that they didn't have in their budget. Did you have, I'm asking store owners, did you have in your budget to put plexiglass barriers up or stickers on the floor designating 6 feet apart? Did you buy a bunch of masks in case people show up at your store without masks? Have you done any window signage or signs that talk about what you've done to make your store safe? So these are and are you now shipping more product than you've ever shipped before? Because someone has to pay for that shipping. It's either the customer or you or both, but someone's paying for the shipping. So we see a compression of margins, and then everybody's been confused, and there's just so many questions about the federal grants and loans and how to get them paid back and how to get certain loans forgiven and when will the next money be available and all those things. And that's where the SBDC comes in. They are in business to help you. So I always believe you ought to, hire an expert or hire a skill set that you don't have. So keep that in mind. Operations, holiday hangover. There's usually a little bit of a hangover in February and March after the holidays. So you have inventory management, ship-ageddon, and returns. So one of the things that's happening now, I don't think I covered this in the first slide. One of the points on the first slide was because the big boxes have done so much more business online, their returns have been higher than ever. And why are returns higher when you do e-commerce? Because what happens is a lot of customers buy, they can't decide what they want, so they buy all of them. So, oh, I can't decide, so I'll just buy all 5 of them. And then I'll send back the 4 that I don't want. And the consumer's getting used to that. There are companies like Warby Parker that sell sunglasses. It'll send you 4 pairs of frames for you to look at before you buy them. And you send the ones back that you don't want, and they just charge you for the frame you keep. Well, the customer's getting used to that, so they're buying that way. So all of a sudden, these returns are higher than they've ever been. The other complication, quite frankly, when you get into e-commerce business, is you're now managing 2 inventories. You have to manage the inventory you need to sell in the store, and you have to manage the inventory that you sell online. And that can be a complicated process. But know that many of these things are automated now. It depends on what kind of point of sale system you have and what kind of e-commerce platform you've chosen to make sure those 2 pieces talk to one another and manage your inventory well. So that's the inventory management piece. What are the opportunities that are out there right now? Well, adapting your business mode so that you can help the customer in the manner in which they want to be helped. Co-opetition is that word I used a little earlier. Are you talking and speaking with the other businesses in town? And are you doing some things together so that the whole town prospers, not just a single business? Have you developed any new revenue streams? You know, the word pivot, I'm sure you've heard pivot by now. Pivot simply means new income streams, changing your business. So it doesn't necessarily mean as much changing your current business is there opportunities for you to sell other things under your umbrella to produce higher revenues? And I'll tell you this, there may have been stores that have closed during the pandemic because they simply couldn't make it with their new revenue levels. Now, they probably had categories of merchandise that sold well. The whole store's categories might have sold well. They just weren't financially able to weather the storm, so to speak. And you ought to be picking up those lines that they sold well that they no longer sell because they're not in business. So there's opportunity out there to improve your businesses for the stores that have been left standing. You cross-train. You need to cross-train your current employees to do tasks they might not have done before. You may have someone that does shipping and fulfillment just to keep up with your online business. You may have people working on the website to improve the website. But you probably have less people than you had before based on walk-in traffic being down at least 50%. So you may have less employees. That means every employee has to do more. You can't do all of it. You need help from your staff. So cross-training is important. The push to digital maturity. What's that mean? It means you got to be all over Facebook, Instagram, and your website because everyone is on the internet because lots of people are at home working. They're working from their home. They've been sequestered in their homes. You probably know that because travel's down. People aren't traveling as much as they used to. And I'm sure that affects the islands. Shoot, last time I was there, we were talking about the cruise lines and the fact that less cruise lines were going to St. Croix than they used to and things like that. So it's all important. And the voids are what I talked about. You have opportunity probably to sell some product you've never sold before. So take a look at that and thrive during this. Listen, I've been all over the country. I've certainly, because of my virtual approach now, have talked to people all over the country. And what we're finding is the stores that are thriving have a can-do attitude. They're positive. They're energetic. They give off great vibes. They're not down in the dumps over this pandemic, and they're sending out good vibes. You know, vibes are important. You can feel them when you go in a store. You know whether a store's running on all cylinders or whether there's discord in that store. People can feel it. So make sure that you're have a great mindset right now, because a dour, unoptimistic approach to things just won't fly right now. It's too difficult. Common threads. What are some common threads? Overwhelmed, feeling of failure, hard to see the next step while you're in the middle of a raging fire. What that means is it's hard to think about the future when you're trying to stay open and cope with the day-to-day. We understand that, but you've got to be future oriented if you're gonna maintain and move forward. So have a good mindset. Some retailers are thriving. The power of the pivot. I've talked about this. Sometimes I get ahead of myself because I just start talking and I'm stream of consciousness. But we've talked about adapting the way you do business, meeting customers' needs, creatively overcoming the challenges, skill building. Certainly, when you're training your employees and yourself in new skills, e-commerce is incredibly important. You know that. Marketing, digital marketing, regular marketing, all marketing is important because you got to get found. You have to get found. Google is as important as it's ever been. And I want you to be on the first page of results when someone gets off their boat or a ship or flies in or comes into your store or into your town on the island for the first time. They got to be able to find you, and Google is the way that happens, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the reason people don't change is fear. They're afraid of changing. They may have been running their store for 20 years and running it the same way they've ever run it. But things have changed. The American consumer has changed. So I think the most dangerous words right now is we've always done it this way. Now, there's something colloquial about that. There's something endearing and charming about it. But if you're not reaching customers on the internet, then you're missing the target. You need to wait on customers not only in your store, but online. Think about going online. You're now 24/7, 365, and you're open all the time, and you're open off the islands and on the main line because you're on the internet. You're stateside too. So know that being on the internet's a good thing, and it's just going to take time for it to mature and become a viable part of your business. It doesn't happen overnight. Consumer trends, hopeful prospects, no one size fits all, support local and online, experiential retail, the intersection of safety and convenience, the digital shopping experience, picking up in store, saving versus spending, and unemployment, actual and anticipated. Excuse me, let me get a quick drink. One of the issues in doing online retail is you got to be able to take what you give your best customers and what you've given your customers all along, the experience in the store. You have to be able to try to do that on your online e-commerce site too. When people ask me about stores that thrive, and I've met with thousands, the answer to that question for me is it really is the owner's personality, because everything trickles down from the owner. So the culture, the vibe, the feeling, the customer, you're in the feelings business, by the way. It's not you selling a product. It's how you make each customer feel during the process that determines whether they're going to be a long-term customer with you or not, whether it's shopping in your store or when they get back stateside ordering you from your online store. So the 80-20 rule says that 20% of your loyal customers are the ones that actually pay your bills. So it's important that the 20% are happy today. And the wisest thing for you to do is to send every one of your good customers an email. I hope you've already done this, but you haven't. If you haven't, you ought to send every one of your good customers an email that says, how would you like us to serve you going forward? What are the things that you're looking for out of a retailer? What are the things that you're looking for out of me as a retailer? Because I want to keep you happy. And I know things are changing based on the pandemic. So I want to do what's best for you, your family, your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues. We want to do what's right for the population that's also living through this pandemic. No one likes it. Realize that customers are grieving over this. They've either lost loved ones or family members or relatives, and they're tired of being sequestered into their home, and they're tired of wearing masks, and they're tired of being 6 feet apart and not hugging or shaking hands or anything. It's no fun, and customers don't like it. And you have to keep that in mind when you're waiting on them, and provide them something that's memorable and delightful, both online and in your store. Social distancing has changed the way we communicate. It's making people yearn for community. They're on digital and expressing themselves on Facebook and Instagram and Yelp and all over the place. So you have a changing customer. Things have changed, and I just want you to make sure you're sensitive to it, I think is the best way to say it. You have to be empathetic. You have to be empathetic right now, more so than ever. You with me? Are there any questions or comments? I don't see anything in the chat room, Joe Williams. Anything going on? Any comments? Any questions? Or should we just keep rolling? I see you're muted, so you can't answer me. But
Just keep rolling.
Just keep rolling?
Yes, sir.
I'll do it. So social distancing, a pain in the neck, but still we have to do it. And people have changed as a result. The other thing that's happening is people are getting used to being in their homes more, and there's a stronger embrace of craft, do-it-yourself, and self-sufficiency. You know that people are cooking more at home. You know that people are making things at home. People are picking up knitting and sewing, and there's all kinds of things that are happening because people are at home more. They're fixing up their houses and they're buying things for the house. And, there's this whole movement of let's make our nest as comfortable as possible. So those in the home furnishings and home decor business should be riding high because people are fixing up their houses and whatnot. The other thing that's happening is some reactive behaviors, sudden or unanticipated inventory shortages. You remember in the beginning of the pandemic, everybody was running out of toilet paper and paper towels. And I don't know if you can get a Clorox wipe yet. I think I've seen a few, but very few. So the consumer's a little wary about what you may have that they want that may be a commodity that you may not have in the future because you'll run out of it, because the whole supply chain has been messed up. It's partially broken, you know, and it goes all the way back to manufacturers with people being out of work because of COVID. They can't make as many as they used to. So it starts all the way back at manufacturing. And then think about getting the product from the manufacturer to UPS or USPS or DHL or FedEx to get it to you, and then for you to get it to the customer. So the supply chain is difficult and complicated today. One of the things that you can do, depending on who you decide to do e-commerce with, is you have the ability actually to show the consumer how many of a product that you have. You've seen it on the big boys' websites. You've seen only 5 left, 3 people looking at this product. You've seen inventory levels showing up on bigger sites. But we have smaller, independently owned businesses also using that plugin, which allows you to show your inventory level of products. And it can cause a sense of urgency on the customer's part. Whoa, I better buy that or they're going to be out of it. That's a good thing. That's a good thing for them to know. It also gives you the ability to do limited time offers. Being able to create a sense of urgency is a technique that's used within retail. It's been used for years. You can offer product at a certain price, or just that you have it in stock, as a way to create a sense of urgency and have a limited time offer. That's an effective way to sell things. So know that as well. It's a good technique. So I wanted you to know about what people are doing at home and what they're thinking about. Let's talk about now. I think I've been talking about now, but let's bring it home to what should you be doing right now? Well, one thing I want you to be doing is taking stock of your current business. And when I mean taking stock, I mean, where are you? What are you doing? Did you have a good holiday season? Are you doing well? How can you do better? Or if you didn't do well, what have you done to turn your business around? And in order to do that, I think there's a couple things you need to know. One thing that every business should know is their cash flow break even. What is it that I have to do a month just to pay my bills and break even? That's a number you need to know, because everything revolves around that. And I think it's a number you ought to visit weekly. And I think you ought to if you're halfway through the month and you're way off the mark to break even, then you need to come up with some promotions and a way to increase revenues. And part of that's the internet and e-commerce. And I'm not, I don't have a good feeling on that right now, what's happening in the islands when it comes to e-commerce, but we're going to talk about it. So what has to be done right now for you to hit your cash flow break even? And that goes on to say that you need to know your numbers. I believe that a small business owner needs to know their numbers. You need to have a profit and loss statement in front of you. So that's what a P&L is. And you'll hear me talk about P&Ls, profit and loss. So if you gather up all your backup for your monthly revenue and you send it to an accountant so that they can assimilate and package all that so that you can do your taxes, that same accountant can produce monthly P&Ls for you. So you ought to do that. You ought to ask them to do that. And you ought to study the different categories and know whether you're in line with the retail model. So we can look at your P&L, the SBDC, myself, and I'm going to be able to do I'm going to do one-on-ones with you virtually when we get deep in, as we get into this series. I'm going to, over the phone with Facebook Live, I can do an in-store one-on-one with you. Or we'll do Zoom. Zoom's even better. Show me the whole store, and I can give you advice on how you're running your store. So that's really important, incredibly important. So this slide talks about reaching out to the experts, and it bears repeating. If you need help, get it. The Virgin Islands SBDC is committed to helping you through COVID-19. So make sure that you call out to them. And the last slide has their contact information, both their URL and their phone number. So reach out to them if you need help. Reach out to their website. They're here to help. So reach out to the experts. Signing online. What's that mean? It means a couple things. It means either selling e-commerce on your site or selling your product through other people's sites. So you might thought, well, what's that guy talking about? It means that some of the biggest platforms like Etsy, Amazon, Facebook, they all have shops now that you can sell through. So those are e-commerce platforms as well. So you could sell through other companies. You know, Amazon's the biggest e-commerce business in the world. It's interesting that Jeff Bezos is stepping down as CEO. That's brand new news that everybody's talking about. But he's not going away. He'll be chairman of the board. So don't worry about Amazon. Not that you're worried about it. So we're going to talk about the website, and we're going to talk about how to get into e-commerce. So yeah, hopefully you have a website. And I'm recommending a video on the homepage of your website, a 30-second video. And that's easily done by just filming it with your phone and uploading it to YouTube. So what I want you to do, I'm not going to teach you how to do that right now, but just go to YouTube and type in, how do I put a video on the homepage of my website? And there's a dozen videos showing you exactly how. So once it's on video, once it's on YouTube, then there's tools to move it over to your website. And it's actually, once you do it once, it's easy. So you'll be able to put this video. First of all, what's the website? What's the video about? I think it's about two things. And why is it 30 seconds? Well, that's the attention span of an adult, 30 seconds. That's why TV commercials are 30 seconds, because we get bored and uninterested after 30 seconds. So you got to keep it as close to 30 as you can. And here's what I want it to be. First, I want it to be your destination statement, what makes you unique. And then second, I want you to tell the customer what they should expect when they get to your store. Meaning, we wear masks. You need to wear a mask to come in. We practice 6-foot distancing, and we only let X amount of people in the store at a time. So I don't want any person showing up at your store that sees a line, a few people waiting outside to get in. I don't want them to be surprised by that, because 9 out of 10, probably 10 out of 10, now go to your website before they ever go to your store. And I want this video showing them what you've done to make your store safe. But the destination statement is this: I am the only store on St. Thomas, on St. Croix. I am the only store in the Virgin Islands. I am the only store in the country that, and I want you to be able to finish that statement, because you need to be unique. And unique, the definition of unique is one of a kind. And what makes you one of a kind? What do you do better than anybody else? And you need to let the customer know that, because that's your calling card. That's what makes people interested in you. So what's the other reason for the video? Who owns Google? YouTube owns Google. What do you think Google looks for first when they do a search? They look for video because they own YouTube. If you have a video on your site and other stores that sell the same product that you do don't, those stores you'll show up on a search result with Google before they do. And you have to be on the first page of results. Americans are lazy. They don't want to go past the first page. So you need to be on the first page of results. And this video will get you there for free. Search engine optimization can cost as much as $2,000. So consider a gift that I just gave you, because I'm going to help you with your search results. What I'm saying here, have customers call to place an order. If you don't have an e-commerce site that you have a shopping cart with, then put your best products up on your site and tell the customer to call you to order them. Or if they're on the island, tell them to come to your store and get it. Okay? But at some point, you need to set up an e-commerce site on your website. The biggest is Shopify.com. And there's others. There's Wix.com, Squarespace.com, Lightspeed.com, BigCommerce.com. There's Weebly, there's WordPress. There's a bunch of platforms. But Shopify, by far, is the biggest. And the reason I like Shopify so much is by tonight, you could have products on Shopify and be selling online, because they make it that easy to get product online. The other big deal when it comes to e-commerce is being able to get paid online. And the new buzzwords are frictionless and contactless, meaning they want to be able to pay you without touching anything. And they want to be able to do that in your store as well. And Shopify has contactless payment. And that means they enable PayPal and Apple Pay and all the other pay venues that there are. You can do that on Shopify. So let's go back because I jumped a slide. So why have inventory management? Because you got to stay on top of your in-store and your online inventories. And it creates a sense of urgency. I've already talked about this with you. It's being able to put your inventory levels right online. You know what else the other really cool thing is to do, and you can do it very easily through Spotify? You could have an online chat. Talk about being able to personalize your online offer. What if the customer can chat with you live? So obviously you're going to have an employee that's willing to answer the chats and sit on the phone or wherever. You sit on the website with that customer and chat with them. And you ought to make the hours like chat can only be the hours you're open. So, a live chat's available from 10 to 5 or 10 to 7 or 10 to 8 or whatever you're open. But live chat is just a plug-in on Spotify. It's called Tidio, Tidio. It gives you the ability to have a live chat right on your e-commerce site. How cool is that? The other big deal with e-commerce sites are abandoned carts. What do I mean by abandoned carts? It means people have started to fill their cart on your site and then they leave it and don't buy it. They just leave the cart sitting there with all the product in it. Well, what's happening there? A couple things. One is they were just looking to begin with, so they just started putting stuff in their cart so they wouldn't forget it. They're going to price shop you, so they're seeing what you got, and then they're going to other sites to see what their prices are. Or your process is too complicated and annoys them. So they leave because they know there are other sites that make it very, very easy to buy things. So Shopify and other platforms have an automated automated email program that will email the customers that have abandoned their carts. It's called the 10-word email. Are you still interested in the sandals you looked at? And that's an email that goes to someone that looked at a product on your site and didn't buy it. And then you have an opportunity to give them an offer. Well, I'll give you 10%, or we'll ship it for free, or whatever you want to offer to get that product sold. So I didn't want you to not know, if you're getting in the e-commerce business, what abandoned carts is all about. Accept online payments. We talked about that. That's Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal, Stripe. They make it easy and contactless, contact-free. And then we've talked about integrated POS systems, Square, Clover, Toast is for restaurants, Shopify. It's real important that your POS, your point of sale system, can speak to your inventory management system. And again, there are platforms that make that very simple. And there's free trials, so you could get on shop. I don't know if it's still current, but recently Shopify had 2 weeks for free. So you get to check it out. If you're going to get in the shipping business, if you're in the online business and you're doing a lot of shipping, you ought to have an area and a person assigned to making shipping happen. So you got to have a carrier and boxes and bubble paper and tape and labels and a scale, and be in the internet mailing business. And it's an opportunity to brand your company. So, most of the carriers, and the 4 big ones are UPS, FedEx, USPS, or the US Postal Service, and DHL. So those are the big ones. They all have free supplies available. But you want to brand the box so the customer knows who they got the product from. So you can either buy labels and stick them on the free boxes you got from UPS. There's a place called Sticker Mule, and they sell tape that will have your logo all over it. So when you tape up the box, you're taping it up with your logo. Amazon uses Amazon tape. Well, you can get a roll of your own tape, Sticker Mule. You ought to also put a couple things in the package when it arrives to the customer. And that ought to be a thank you note. You ought to write a thank you note to the customer and thank them from shopping with you. And secondly, you ought to have a be back coupon. A coupon that gives them some kind of offer to shop with you in the future. It's an ability for you to get a promo in front of them. So a couple things to remember when you're shipping. If you're not selling on social media, learn how and start doing it right now. So you can sell directly from Facebook and have the money go directly to you or your website by how you set it up with Facebook or Instagram. But there are too many success stories from too many store owners that put product on Facebook and sell out of it that day. So learn how to do that. And if you don't know how, contact the SBDC, and they'll hook you up with someone that can teach you how to do it. But social media is huge. You know that. Everyone knows that. That's how you communicate with your customer today. What's going on that's new? Well, public health trends are not linear, which means public responses may vary by jurisdiction. It may mean that you're doing things on the islands differently than people are doing in the States. And as a result, it has changed the consumer that shops in the islands. Consumers are not thinking or acting like they did before. And multiple simultaneous and changing preferences are happening. The push-pull between safety and convenience of online shopping and the experience and connections of in-person shopping. So think about having 2 different customers now, one that shops in your store and one that shops with you online. And they can be 2 very different customers. So be prepared for the next normal. It's not the new normal, it's the next normal, because it's going to be very different than it was in the past. Be omni-channel. Be able to sell on a mobile phone, on your website, in the store. You have to be able to satisfy the 4 A's. And what are the 4 A's again? Anytime, any place, anyhow, anywhere. Offer safe and efficient pickup and fulfillment. So you got to be safe. We've been through that. Don't drop your guard. What do I mean by that? Is people will get stores will get lackadaisical. They'll get tired of being clean. They'll get tired of cleaning the front door and the handles and cleaning the counters. And don't get tired of it. We've got to stamp out this virus. We've got to get a hold of it. And the only thing I can promise you is change going forward, because there will be constantly evolving change in customers. So those are 4 very important principles to abide by. So I've already talked to you about this, but you need to have talked to your vendors, your supply chain, your top contacts. You need to negotiate the best prices available. If you haven't tried to renegotiate your rent or mortgage, you should, because everybody knows everybody's hurting during the pandemic. You ought to talk to your supply chain and your vendors about better terms. Instead of paying them within 30 days, you ought to ask for 60 or 90. You don't get what you don't ask. You need to be writing more and publishing more. You need to embrace video across your whole team and all formats. And you need to optimize your website so that you are offering your customers what they want: convenience, caution, cause, and community. And there's that 10-word email. Are you still interested in the scarf you recently looked at? Well, hopefully it's not a scarf in the islands, but it might be a dress scarf. So engage with your network. Don't forget these tips. Your advertising right now shouldn't show a bunch of people closely together, hugging, kissing, shaking hands. I mean, you ought to show people in masks right now in your ads and your advertising. And you ought to think about serving the customer as opposed to selling to them, because you're practicing empathy. You show. Listen, there's no better time ever to be kind. You have no idea what each individual customer is dealing with. And the best way to handle that is to just treat everybody with kindness. We get it. If you're not ready to come in and shop, we understand. We have built a beautiful website for you to shop online with. Determine what to stop doing, what to continue to do, and what to start doing. Those are the 3 things I want you all to be doing. Continue to communicate with your employees and customers. Post daily, every day on social media, because you know that if you don't run an ad or boost a post, only about 2% of your followers are getting your posts. 2%, 2 out of 100. The best thing to do is run an ad, because that way you can narrow your reach to people that are potential shoppers. It does you no good to reach a bunch of people that have no inclination of shopping with you. But if you reach customers that are like the customers that already shop with you, which Facebook and Instagram can determine, you ought to be going after people that look like and act like the people that already shop with you, because they're the best customers going forward. And don't forget about email. Email is the only data that you actually own. You don't own your website, the host does, or the data and the product on your, not the product, but the information. And Facebook and Instagram own everything you put on there. They're public domain. And then co-opetition, collaborate with other stores in town and promote together. Some more good ideas, run a contest, maybe have a 2-day extravaganza in town that somebody wins some town bucks and has a buying spree. Create downloadable coupons or codes online for people to use. You might want to create a subscription model. You know what that is? It's like Stitch Fix. You send them a box a month. They keep what they want and they send back what they don't want. And you figure out what their taste level is from past purchasing history and a survey that you send them. So you figure out kind of what they like, and you end up sending them a box valued at a certain amount once a month. And they keep what they want and they send back what they want. Subscription models is the way of the future. BOGO, what the heck is BOGO? Buy one, get one. Listen, the best way to go on sale is to bundle your product. Buy one, get one and half off. What's the customer remember? Half off. What are you actually marking down each piece? 25%. But they remember 50, and 50 is what motivates a customer. Because of, the long term, we had a recession in 2008. People got used to 50 off because businesses needed cash flow. Well, the customer has been spoiled by 50 off. They don't think they're getting a deal till you're 50 off. So why don't you use BOGO? So you're using 50 off, but you're really only marking down 25%. Celebrate Customer of the Month award. Run customer surveys for incentive. Fill out this survey and get 10% off. Find out what your best customers want. Birthday and anniversary perks have been used for years, and you can know those by entering them into your point of sale system. Well, that's it. That's what I wanted to cover with you this morning. Here's your opportunity to reach out to the Virgin Island SBDC. Here's their phone number. And I encourage you to join us on the Wednesdays of our series for more information. I hope you found this helpful. Mary Jo Williams, is there any comments or questions?
There's a comment that Ocean Safari does a great job on this. However, they do BOGO free.
Well, BOGO's even free is even better. Buy one, get one free. Who doesn't like free? So the ability to advertise, buy one, get one free, the customer remembers they're giving me something for free. But they don't realize that they're paying for the other one full price. So they're still getting about a 50% markdown. That's an aggressive promotion, but it works.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Mr. Mark Wilson, for that presentation. And next week, you will be back at 2 o'clock on Wednesday for Working Wednesday. It's a lot of work for all of us, and we're happy that you can join us. And next Wednesday's topic is futurizing your business for long-term
sustainability.
Woo!
That's a good one. That's about 2021. That's about, and I've covered quite a bit of some things in this session. So there's some repeat information, but there's a bunch of new information. And listen, the only way, commercials run over and over again because repetition makes you remember. So if you hear it more than once, don't be worried. I'm just trying to get you to remember it.
All right, that sounds great. And the next SBDC webinar will be Tuesday for Webinar Tuesday with the SBA at 10 o'clock. Next week, Tuesday, the 9th of February. And then Tuesday afternoon at 4:30, we have an introduction with the UVI Creativity Lab. So we have 3 webinars for you next week. So we look forward to seeing you guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you all. Mary Jo, do you want me to stay on?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, we are back.
We are still recorded and live on Facebook, Mary Jo.
Do you want to stop the recording?